so we couldn't get closer than this. The way we walk, the way we talk, the way we saw, the way we kiss. Sit through the streets where everyone seems getting bigger. Seek a wider right to bite, scratch, stream all night. Let's go and throw all the songs we know.
Hello and welcome to the Holy Hour Podcast, the All Cure Podcast. I'm Gavin, and thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're doing good out there as we hit the final stretch of the 2026 Summer European Festival Tour. And The Cure have just wrapped up two more amazing shows, show number 28 and 29 of this 31 show tour, playing on their home turf of the United Kingdom, where they played in Manchester and then in Scotland and Edinburgh. But before we dive into these two amazing shows, we do have two quick reflections and comments to look back on last week's show in Sweden. We had a fun write-in from our good pal D, so I'm going to read it for you now here, guys, to kick off this show. D writes, a story from a gal who can't make it to a physical show. I'm currently on school holidays. I'm an English teacher in Japan and have thought that this is a perfect time to get up early and catch some live streams of the Euro shows. But alas, due to one thing or another, I've only been able to catch a couple. Imagine my delight when I found out that the Sweden show is going to be an official live stream on the 14th of their Way Out West festival. So I set my alarm, get up, open my laptop, open up TV4's The Cure live stream to discover I'm a day early. Damn, holiday brain forgetting what day of the week it is. So I crawl back in bed and I fall asleep. Then around 7:30, I start to waken from my slumber and roll over and crunch. There goes my neck. I can't move. I call out to my husband, not sure what he can do, but alas, he comes running in and tries to help me up. I can't move my head nor my neck. To cut the story short, I visit an orthopedic clinic and get a few injections and painkillers. Go home and rest up. I decided there was no way I'd be sleeping in my bed that night, so I made the plan to sleep on our recliner lounge and get up early, 6 a.m. Japan time, for the Way Out West show. Take 2. I tried to get to sleep around midnight and had very sporadic sleep due to the neck pain. To help me doze off, I listened to the Holy Hour Podcast, episode 305, Bulgaria, Greece, and Switzerland. Note, this is not me suggesting that the Holy Hour Podcast is boring. I just find Gavin's voice helps me relax and thus sometimes fall asleep. Okay. It obviously worked because I was shaken awake by what I thought was someone standing to the left of me. But no, it was Dennis from the Ukraine starting up his review of the shows above. I listened to his review, which was very good, and then tried to get more sleep. I managed to get up around 5:30 a.m. and feeling okay. Made some breakfast, got settled in to watch the lads live from Gothenburg. So the show, as most of us might know by now, opened with Alone. Right from the get-go, there was either some technical issues or some timing issues or something with Simon's bass, but it was sorted out rather quickly and the song played on powerful and brilliantly. Pictures of You, High, Love Song, and Burn all followed Alone. The stream was a bit glitchy during these songs, but improved quickly. After that, it seems to be smooth sailing, with Fascination Street, A Night Like This, where we had the pleasure of seeing Gabriel Cooper, Jason's son, on sax again. Then in comes Secrets, Push, In Between Days, Just Like Heaven, Play for Today, A Forest, From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, 100 Years, and ending the first set with End Song. Set 2 got underway with Robert apologizing he doesn't speak Swedish and babbled some other incomprehensible to me mutterings. Next came Lullaby, The Walk, Love Cats, Friday I'm in Love, Close to Me, Why Can't I Be You. Then, as with many of the tour shows, the night ended with Boys Don't Cry. Before they started playing Boys Don't Cry, Robert mumbled something about meeting the curfew and that this was their last song. So all in all, the show was wonderful. The weather looked great, a little warm, maybe 35 degrees Celsius, I believe. And the lads played well. The production and camera work was spot on. The stream was a bit flirty at the start, but quickly sorted itself out. The only negative comments I have is about the crowd. They seemed quite subdued, but maybe that was the Swedes and how they do it. There was no new song additions. Oh well. It was definitely worth getting up at 6 a.m. Japan time to watch. All right, thank you so much, D. Always great to hear from you, and always great to get another review from a fellow stream watcher. So thanks for putting an extra pair of eyes on that too, and glad you got to enjoy the live stream on the correct day, and hope your neck is feeling better still. We also got another thought and comment from Tomas, who was at the Sweden show and was able to recall something that I didn't mention. I meant to, had it in my notes, but must have just skipped over it, about the Sweden show. Tomas writes, I was at the show in Sweden, and there is another nugget I didn't hear you report on. At the festival, the two biggest stages are opposite of each other. So even though the Hives played before The Cure on their stage, Nick Cave actually played his concert right before The Cure. And Nick Cave joked about how he was happy that everyone stayed at the show and not go over, there, pointing his fingers across the audience to The Cure's stage. After The Cure, snippets of the video started to pop up of how Nick and the band and some crew went out on their stage and had a little dance during a forest. And a lot of them stayed on the stage for the rest of the set. So that was kind of sweet, but it also shows how popular The Cure are, even for a sourpuss like Mr. Cave. Joking. But too bad there was a short set list at the Sweden show, especially since my second show on the tour was the first in Berlin when Simon got sick. But oh well, there's always next time. Stay safe, Tomas.
Toast with bitter tracks to our emptiness.
Thank you so much, Tomas. And yeah, that was a great point. I saw those video clips and some pictures afterwards, and know that Nick Cave is huge with a lot of Cure fans, so lots of good crossover there, and always good to see when the artists support each other and dig the tune. So that was pretty sweet seeing him dancing around on his stage afterwards. So very cool. Maybe we'll get a collaboration someday between those guys. All right, let's go ahead and zip into the present. Well, actually, the present, so we can talk about the more recent past of show number 28, August 21st, Friday in Manchester, England. The Cure back in the UK, ready to rock the house. Lots of people we knew flying over there, getting ready for this one. And I don't think they disappointed. It seemed like a great show. Before I dive into anything, we're lucky enough to get a contribution for this one. So let's go ahead and hand it over to Mark Bishop, who was kind enough to attend the show and let us know how it was down there on the front lines, in the trenches, at the actual show.
Hey Gavin, just wanted to say how much I love the podcast you guys do. Been following it for years and really been enjoying the coverage of the summer festival tours. So I thought I'd jump on the bandwagon and send you a short contribution from the Manchester show. What I'm probably not going to do is a full song by song rundown of the set list. I'm sure you guys will do that far better than I would. So I'll just give you a bit of context of the experience I had and what I really enjoyed, and some things that maybe could have been a bit different. So I guess first of all, worth giving a little bit of backstory on myself. I don't want to give you the full Cure story of my biography though, that'll be a bit long-winded, but yeah, I initially got into them around about the Disintegration time. I slightly missed the launch of the album, but got into them very shortly after that. And randomly, I think the only album I had for a long while was a bootleg of The Top. So that was my intro to The Cure, which I know is not that popular with all of you guys there, but I still hold in a warm place. And then after Disintegration, kind of filled in all the back catalogue really till Wish rolled around, and I was pretty much fully on board for that album coming out, and that was probably my peak fandom. So I actually went along to the warm-up gigs they did in small venues around the UK. The first one actually I went to was the opening night for that, which was the same night that Wish had come out, and it was also Robert Smith's birthday, so that was quite a special first Cure gig for me. And funnily enough, that was very near Manchester, and my journey started in Manchester for that one, so it's almost like I've gone full circle with the gig here. Post Wish, I also saw them then following on at the end of the world tour at the GMEX later on in Wish, which was a much bigger stadium, one where I was so drunk at. I managed to get to the front barrier, but got pulled over the barriers and ended up watching most of the show from the sidelines with the support acts and being very chatty with the singer from Cranes, who was also a big fan of Love Songs, so we were both very excited when they played that. After Wish, I still was listening to The Cure a lot, up until Wild Mood Swings, which, to be fully honest, was a slight disappointment. I think also probably musically a lot different stuff was going on in the UK. My taste had sort of evolved a bit. It felt like The Cure were maybe a little bit passé. So while there were some great songs on there and some amazing B-sides, didn't quite deliver for me. And probably not long after that, I slightly dropped off from The Cure. Partly, I think a big part of that was because my entire back catalogue was on cassette. And around that time, I made the jump to CD. So no longer had access to any Cure CDs apart from Wild Mood Swings, the singles from that, and Wrong Number, which for me personally aren't the strongest selection of Cure songs. And I think I did pretty quickly replace Disintegration, as that's essential. But other than that, I had a huge gap in my Cure back catalogue till probably the early noughties, where they started doing the re-releases and the greatest hits, and Join the Dots, which really reignited my love for the band, and actually started to go and see them again. And since then I've seen them about a dozen times. Highlights of that would probably be the Reflections tour at the Royal Albert Hall. I saw them at Wembley for the last night of the Songs of the Lost World tour, plus Hammersmith Apollo, and even one other outdoor gig at Hyde Park in the early noughties. I've generally avoided festivals and outdoor gigs. I don't really like big crowds. I don't really like all the faff of it, and it's certainly a bit of a hurdle for me. And when these festivals were announced, it certainly took me a while to decide I was up for it and I was going to go. And I was definitely leaning towards the Manchester gig when it looked like that was a Cure-only festival. It meant I didn't have to endure the ordeal of camping and too much inconvenience, and I thought perhaps we might get a slightly longer set and a few more rarities and B-sides. I'll come to that in a minute. But come the day when I arrived in Manchester, I was kind of blown away actually, because having seen The Cure loads of times before, I couldn't quite believe that the whole of Manchester city centre was taken over with a sea of Cure shirts when I've seen them before. You don't really see that till you get very near the venue, maybe one or two stops away on the tube, or even just outside. Obviously Manchester's a bit of a smaller city than London, where I'd normally see them, and maybe in London that kind of size crowd would just get absorbed in all the other sort of people milling around. But it was incredible to see that many Cure heads out and about, and the real range of people as well, from youngsters, teenagers, right up to people probably well into their 70s, and that was amazing. I was met up with a friend for a drink in Manchester, and we were really excited and reminiscing. He was the same friend I'd been to the Wish tour with as well, so it was really good fun just chatting about all of that. And then we made our way to the venue, and this is probably one of the downsides. If people don't know, Manchester, Wythenshawe is not really central in Manchester. It's not really massively accessible. It's also perhaps not one of the nicest areas of Manchester, so getting there was a bit of a pain. The infrastructure's not really there. It was kind of a bit chaotic, but we got there anyway, and it was exciting. And we were a bit late. We were hoping to make it in time for Slow Dive, but only caught the tail end of then. Got through. We'd also got VIP tickets. I'm not quite sure why I did that when I bought them, but I thought it'd maybe make the festival experience a little bit more endurable, and that was quite cool because we had slightly nicer toilets and less queues for the bar, so that was a bonus. But it was also the layout of the whole place was kind of weird, and that was really tucked away. So while it was quite good when you got there, every time you had to go there was such a diversion. It was probably almost quicker just to go to the regular bar. The place was huge. I couldn't quite believe how big it was. I think there was about 35,000 there, And the layout and the space wasn't probably ideal for that. It felt like we were miles away and we were too late to really get pushing to the front and barging past people. So we sort of settled about halfway back. We're still pretty excited. Chat to some really nice people we met there, loads wearing veteran t-shirts. I was wearing my Wish warm-up tour, which got a few comments and someone. But yeah, onto the set, which is obviously the most important thing. It's amazing, really, seeing The Cure live. I think however many times you do it, you kind of forget how powerful it is. And they came out and opened with Alone, and I was kind of 50-50, as probably a lot of people are. Are we going to get that? Are we going to get the Plain Song, Disintegration, opener and closer? And I love Plain Song, that's probably one of my top 10 Cure songs, but I was actually really glad to get Alone and End Song, because I've heard them open with Plain Song half a dozen times, love it, but Alone I've only heard once before, which was on the tour before the album came out, so I didn't even really know it. So it was really good to hear that and End Song, knowing them well and loving those songs. So actually I was really pleased to get that selection, which probably might have surprised me. So that was definitely a big bonus, and they opened so strongly, and the atmosphere across the park was phenomenal for that. And they sounded incredible, and Robert's voice is just amazing. It's hard to believe he sings like he does still. I think the only gripe with the sound, and I guess this is maybe what happens at festivals rather than indoor gigs, is some of it gets a bit lost, especially when they moved on to songs like High. That kind of jangly, sparkly guitar sort of sound just wasn't there. Everything felt a bit bassy and heavy. I don't know if that was them or more just the venue. But some songs sounded absolutely incredible. I mentioned Alone already, and End Song, but Burn, From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, all of those really heavy songs just sounded amazing. And there was this beautiful red sunset going on in the early part of the set that just felt so on brand. And incredibly, being Manchester, and if you're not from England, you might not know this, it's got a reputation for raining all the time. And we've come out of the world's hottest summer we've ever had, and I've been looking at these events with trepidation about sunburn, but the weather had definitely turned and everyone was worried it was going to rain. I even packed my raincoat, but we avoided that, which was incredible and made it an even more special evening. And to go through the set list in general, it's always a pleasure to hear The Cure. They played so many amazing songs. Each one of those songs in their own right is a classic. But it maybe felt like one of the safer set lists of the tour. I'd maybe been holding out for a few more rarities. I think the fact we got 3 songs from Wild Mood Swings and nothing from Pornography or Faith was a little bit disappointing. But you still look at the set list, we got the songs, we got the performance they gave, and you really, really can't complain. It was just such a pleasure to be there. And friends I was there with, you haven't seen them for 10, 15, maybe 20 years. Some of them were equally blown away and sort of felt like maybe they'd really missed out, losing touch with the band over that time. So that was really special. I think the audience, the crowd was a bit funny. It was kind of, I think maybe because the space was so big and so spread out, it didn't always feel like everyone was 100% attentive, and it was kind of jostled around a bit. So that was maybe a slight downside, but I don't think it stopped the band delivering an incredible performance. And what was just an amazing and really special night, and just got me so excited again for any new material they've got or any future tour they do, and hopefully, probably for me, that would be venues inside. So yeah, all in all, really great night, really, really great performance. Perhaps could have had a few extra special songs peppered into the set list, but you can never complain. What an amazing band, and Robert Smith just seems so humble and charismatic and such a treasure, and you just hope there's still more to come, more concerts, more records, more everything.
All right, thank you so much, Mark. More everything. I couldn't agree with you more, and for every glowing review like this that I hear, it does make me happier to know that that improves our odds of this continuing on for as long as humanly possible. And so great and reassuring to know our boys are out there rocking it and sounding great and putting on these amazing shows. But yeah, it sounded like this was an awesome one. So happy for everybody that traveled and made it over, or even the locals there. It sounded great. It was, like Mark said, 35,000 sold out crowd. So huge crowd there. There was talk of rowdiness on the rail, and somebody got tossed out, and a bit of a hectic situation there that I didn't quite get the full read on. But, I guess you get that many people in festivals in general, it's bound to happen. But hopefully, it didn't ruin anyone's night entirely there. And as luck would have it, we got another contribution at the 0 hour here from our good friend Alison, who was not only at the Manchester show, but also the Edinburgh show. So I figured I would plug in her thoughts on these two shows as we go. So to pair off of what Mark said, Alison wrote, Manchester. After their appearance at the Way Out West Festival in Sweden, The Cure took a short break before the final 2 UK shows and then heading off to France for the finale. The Manchester show had sold out soon after going on sale in 2025, so I started making plans with friends immediately. It was a great opportunity to host some visitors from the US, including fellow Patreon member Dion, who I met during the Shows of a Lost World tour in Glasgow in 2022. Dion was kind enough to help me get tickets for the Seattle and Salt Lake City shows in 2023, and showed me wonderful hospitality, so it was lovely to be able to return the favor. We drove up from my home in Derbyshire to Manchester and were prepared for rain showers. The show was being held in a park on the outskirts of the city. We stocked up on snacks and water and headed for the gates around 1 p.m. There was a short queue and we spotted some familiar faces. The rain stayed away and the queue grew. There was the usual confusion and tension about getting in. After initially asking us to queue in a line, we were formed into a broader group and moved behind a barrier. Once we were through security and a ticket check, we were held again for a few anxious minutes before being released to run to the stage. I am not a fast runner, but our other two friends from California ran like the wind and grabbed a rail spot near Eden and Reeves. It was quite a high stage though, and we were wondering how good we were going to be able to see the band. First band up was Slow Readers Club, a local Manchester band. They were a new discovery and I really enjoyed their intensity. And then the amazing Slowdive took the stage. They were excellent as usual, and we had a very special moment when Perry's sparkly guitar was brought out by Donna for Christian to play on. Then, finally, The Cure came on. We heard the rain sound, so we knew Alone was going to be the opener. After that, we had one of the typical summer sets, and swapped out choices were Alt End, Treasure, and Want, A Night Like This, and Secrets. It was exciting to see Gabriel back on sax for A Night Like This, although I couldn't see him very well due to the cameraman's platform. After an emotional end song, the pop encore included Wrong Number and Mint Car. We had been hoping for an extra encore song, but realized that it was almost curfew time at 10:30, so Boys Don't Cry was the last song as usual. Leaving the shows was a bit of a mess and restaurants had closed, but we ended the night in the time-honored way in Manchester in a kebab shop. All right, thank you so much, Allison. Great extra details to add on to what Mark said. And sounded great and super awesome to have that moment with Donna sharing Perry's old guitars with Slowdive. And just another amazing set from The Cure. Let's do the quick run through just to have the stats all locked in. 27 songs, 2 hours and 17 minutes set at this Manchester show. And as Mark said, opened with Alone, into Pictures of You, High, Love Song, Burn, Fascination Street, and Alt End, into Push, In Between Days, and Just Like Heaven. So classics that you can't really argue, but pretty standard lineup by this point in the tour. Most were probably expecting that run of songs in the set list. Then they got Treasure and Want combo, which was nice. This was only the 9th time out of 30 almost shows that they got that. So always a cool combo to get Treasure and Want on this tour. A Night Like This would come out, and again, Minnie Coop was out there playing his sax, so glad that they are utilizing him more on this last stretch of shows, and everyone's getting to partake in witnessing Gabriel Cooper's wonderful sax skills on a night like this, and followed by Secrets again for the 9th time. So they're getting on 9 heavies on this one, which is a good chunk for this tour, but pretty rarity still. So I hope everyone's enjoying Secrets being in there. Play for today, A Forest, in which he ended his little mini snippet Simon threw in there after the big finale of A Forest. He played the first opening riff of Drone No Drone. Hopefully a little sneak peek. It maybe in the upcoming last 2 shows they might finally bust out Drone No Drone. Maybe wishful thinking, or maybe that's just Simon's way of saying, hey, I know the bass line. I don't know why we're not playing this, but here it is. So maybe that'll be the closest we get to hearing No Drone again. Followed by From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea into End Song. Wrapping up the main set. Then we got the pop encore, a lullaby, and Wrong Number into the walk. And the alternating song for the pop encore, they'd be lucky enough to get Mint Car for only the 10th time on this tour. But 10 times on a tour, that's pretty awesome, having Mint Car in there that many times. Followed by Love Cats, Friday I'm in Love, Close to Me, Why Can't I Be You, and Boys Don't Cry. Wrapping up a hell of a show. So hopefully everybody had a great time and didn't get bogged down by the 1 or 2 hooligans in there, and got to see a great Cure show. So from there, let's keep going north and go on into Edinburgh, Scotland. On Sunday, they'd have Saturday off. So August 23rd, 29th show of the festival, the Summer Sessions, summer festivals here in Scotland at the Royal Highland Showgrounds, I believe. Seemed like there was like 8 different names for what the hell this festival's called. I guess that's just the name of the venue. Royal Highland Showgrounds. And this one sounded like another banger. And let's once again hand it off to Alison, who was actually there to give us a report from the show. Alison writes, on the Saturday after the Manchester show, we headed up to Edinburgh. It was definitely a Cure train, with passengers including slow dive musicians, some of the Cure's techs, and lots of fans. Once we arrived in the city, we had time to enjoy the busy festival atmosphere, and then a big group of us assembled for dinner. Another dear friend had joined us for this show, Kate from Cure Threads. We were feeling super excited that we had achieved our Holy Hour Patreon reunion. Next morning, we headed off early. There were several entrances and no indication of the best to choose, so we headed for the East Gate, which looked nearest the stage. We queued for around an hour, but then the security advised that all early arrivals needed to go to the North Gate. A little annoying, but we still felt we had a good chance of getting to the front. After several hours of making friends in the queue, gates were opened and we received our front standing wristbands. We ran to the stage and managed to get rail spots near Eden. We were a little further from the band than we had been at Manchester, but the stage was lower and there was no camera platform blocking our sight lines, so we were very happy. Just Mustard were the first support. We had seen them several times earlier in the summer, and it was nice to see them again on home territory. Next was another great set from Slowdive, also a Scottish band and clearly well known to many in the audience. There was a repeat of the wonderful moment when Donna appeared on stage with one of Perry's guitars and handed it to Christian. But this time, it was even more special as Rachel, the singer, put an arm around her and showed her the Perry flag, which 2 of our friends had taken to multiple shows during this summer. She was obviously very touched. After a loud set from yet another Scottish band, Mogwai, we waited for the Cure. The sun was starting to go down, and we saw final tech preparations, but no rain sounds. Were we going to get Plain Song? Then the chimes kicked in. Yes, brilliant moment. After the usual Pictures of You, High, and Love Song, we then had Secrets before Burn, and the swap in after Fascination Street was Never Enough, which I always love to hear and which sounded especially passionate tonight. After our high energy triplet of Push, In Between Days, and Just Like Heaven, which got everyone clapping and moving, things just kept getting better and better. We had a beautiful Trust, which resonated even more than usual because of the Perry moment earlier on. And then a fun Three Imaginary Boys with Eden on tambourine. Next, we had a rather strange moment. Gabriel Cooper came on stage, and so, of course, we anticipated a night like this. A few notes were played, then the band stopped and looked at each other and restarted. It sounded slow and tentative. Was it a new song? I thought it sounded like A Strange Day, then it became clear it was morphing into Charlotte Sometimes, although played slower than usual. Everyone was looking around, and I was so impressed by Gabriel, who didn't look fazed at all, but just slowly walked off stage. The song settled into Charlotte Sometimes, and at the end, Robert told us he had the wrong set list. The rest of the Cure had followed his lead when he began Charlotte Sometimes. Gabriel came back, and we heard A Night Like This, and it was great to see him properly, as there had been a camera platform in the way at Manchester. He played it beautifully. After Play for Today, with plenty of O's, followed by an epic Forest and From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, as I'd hoped, we got Prayers for Rain and Disintegration as the closer. It was one of the best versions of Disintegration I'd ever heard, and Robert alluded at the end of it how emotional the song is for him to sing, saying, "It takes me right back." It reminded me of how much Robert puts himself through each night to entertain us, continually revisiting the emotional states and mindsets he was in when creating and recording these songs. And finally, the pop encore, starting as the usual with a big cheerful lullaby. The swap in was Let's Go to Bed, and some younger fans near us had been hoping for that song, so I was super pleased for them. Curfew was approaching, as Boys Don't Cry was the last song as usual. Are we ever going to hear 10:15 Saturday night? Perhaps not this summer. But it was such a fabulous set list and a lovely crowd vibe, one of my very favorite Cure shows ever, particularly because I was seeing it with dear friends including Dion and Kate. And I knew many other friends who were scattered throughout the crowd. So it was a beautiful communal experience of love and joy. All right, thank you so much, Alison, for contributing to yet another show. And really glad that it turned out to be a really cool one too. Some good highlights with Trust and Three Imaginary Boys as rarities there, and Charlotte Sometimes with a weird glitch, even though that shouldn't be noted as a highlight, but it's always just cool when something chaotic happens like that, especially at a Cure show. And I think more people probably enjoy it than just launching into another song we've all seen a bunch of times and it goes perfectly. So very cool that they got Charlotte Sometimes, and of course Night Like This remains a nice feature with Mini Coop there, and Prayers for Rain, of course, you can't deny how cool that is live. So yeah, still holding steady at 50 songs for this tour. And if nobody's listened from the start, there was talk that it would be 55 songs Robert said they've rehearsed for this tour. So definitely makes sense that they might not play 5 of those. He just knows they could play them. There's 2 shows remaining after this, and doesn't seem too likely they'll dig out 5 songs in these last 2 shows. But, you know, stranger things have happened. And I could easily see for the finale show anyway in Paris, or perhaps both, wrapping it up with that little power block that they often do at finales of 10:15 Saturday night, Grinding Halt, Killing an Arab. So that's 3 right there. So very possible, and could almost predict that. But we'll see. I don't want to jinx it. That would be cool just to get 3 more in there. And who knows? So then it's just a matter of 2 songs. But even if they do 53 out of 55, that's pretty damn impressive in my book. And yeah, it'd be cool to give those last 2 shows a little extra love, as they tend to do. And what the fuck is up with Too Late? We still haven't heard Too Late since the first night. Everyone in Barcelona at this point is probably crossing their fingers that they don't play it again, because it'll just make their opening night experience that much more memorable, and have a little chuckle that, we got to hear Too Late. No one else on the tour did. So yeah, only song out of the 50, I think, at this point that has only been played once. I think the closest, M 2 times, and maybe the ones that got debuted later just recently in Nîmes, Faith, Letter to Elise, and It Can Never Be the Same, but they got 3 plays each, right? Was it 3 nights there? And yeah, so really it's the only one that has only been played once. So I don't know, maybe I think there's a pretty good chance. Oh yeah, Fragile Thing has only been played once too, so that's still holding steady at 1 play. We'll just have to see what other variations in love France might get in these final 2 shows, which would be kind of funny because they got probably the most notable couple nights of variations and add-ons with that Faith, Letter to Elise block. So it'd be crazy if they do that again in France. Either way, brace yourselves. It's going to be a magical finale weekend. I hope everybody that travels out to that show gets there safe and has a great time. Everybody that traveled out to the UK shows had a blast and made it home safe by now. And yeah, I can't wait to hear what happens at these France shows, because that'll also segue wonderfully into our whole tour finale wrap up, and all the amazing experiences and shows that we got to witness from afar or up close. So stay tuned. We are going to check it all out. And of course, when the France shows wrap up, we'll do a quickie review of that. And then we're going to have a couple conversations with people that I want to talk to up close and in a little more depth about a few of these shows. And then we'll be done with tour talk in time for the fall. So here in the US anyway. And yeah, and then we'll move on to talking about Robert Smith's shoes again or something like that. Real in-depth shit on here on the Holy Hour, you know it. So lots of topics that I've been jotting down in the meantime. So we'll get back into all that kind of nitty-gritty here, and hopefully have the fellas back in to keep me company soon here. So you don't have to just listen to me talking like a psycho to myself. And you guys, hopefully, are still listening. Well, let's wrap up with a giant thank you to Alison and Mark for their super detailed and lovely correspondence on these shows. And also thank you to Dee and Tomas at the top of the episode for their reflections back on Sweden. All right, only thing left to do now is shout out our Patreon. The Patreon, yes, you've been keeping this thing rolling. I appreciate it. Anybody that'd be so kind to check out patreon.com/The Holy Hour Podcast. See if you want to get in on the action and support this show. If you've enjoyed these tour updates and just 300 whatever episodes of Cure Talk, we would love to have you on board, and you'll be in great company because all these people are stand-up awesome people, including Craig, Jeff Hilton, Amber, Allison, Tom Burns, John Roberts, Colin, Craig Hogan, Jeff Cortland Jones, Donna, Sue, John Forster, Dion, Namicio, Matt Ford, Letty, Tony, Ben, Coulter, Tom Johnson, Francisco, Arno, Chip, Nicholas, Shirley, Mara, Caroline, Brian, Sean, Jennifer, Pete Roberts, Nicole, John Richter, Paula, Andreas, and of course Kate, who was at the Edinburgh show. It looked like she had a great time, and she had some wonderful things to say just in the little threads and on posts there. So it sounded like it was a very memorable and awesome experience for her and her husband. So I hope they made it back safe. And go ahead and check out CureThreads.com, where she has tons of original Cure-inspired designs on a wide range of quality products. And you can also follow Cure Arts Collab on Instagram, a wonderful page where Kate provides a home base for amazing Cure artwork created by bona fide Cure fans like you. And of course, Scott Kroger is co-host of the Sarlacc Digest, the best Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. And you can catch their live stream every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific time. You can watch that on their YouTube or Facebook pages. And always a great show over there and a great bunch of guys. So if you want to get your Star Wars nerd on, that's the one to check out. Took me forever to find a great Star Wars podcast, and sure enough, you knew a Cure fan would be the one to do it. So go check out Scott and company over at the Sarlacc Digest. David runs a wonderful Etsy page where you can also find Cure-related products, like a 3D printed recreation of Cure album covers. How cool is that? And you can find that at The Obsessive Geek on Etsy. So just go to Etsy and type in The Obsessive Geek, and you can see all the cool stuff that he has over there in his shop. All high quality and affordable products. Go check them out. The Obsessive Geek on Etsy. Dana is a freelance animation, illustration, motion graphics designer, and currently welcoming projects and commissions. So check out her work at graphics.tv. That's graphics with an X.tv, and drop her a line if you're interested in collaborating. Tanya would like to spread awareness of 988lifeline.org. That's the suicide and crisis hotline with over 200 crisis call centers located all over the U.S., available 24/7, offering free and confidential support for people in distress with numerous prevention and crisis resources. So if you or anyone you know is in need of help, please don't hesitate to reach out. 988lifeline.org. Lisa recommends that you visit Dickens. That's the coolest venue in Calgary, Canada. You can find all their upcoming events listed out at dickensyyc.com. And of course, Chaz's other podcast, James Dobson's Bastard Kids, where each week he and Chrissy take a deep dive into the evangelical church and get to the bottom of all that madness. They have new episodes that drop weekly, every Wednesday. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and hear more Chaz in your life. So go on over there and check out James Dobson's Bastard Kids. That's going to do it for now. Let's pack our bags, head on over to France one more time, and see what madness comes in the ultimate finale of the Cure 2026 Summer European Festivals Tour. Till next time, talk hard.